Hello and welcome to the third round of our PPG IndyCar World Series, coming to you tonight from Portland International Raceway for what is probably going to be one of the more interesting races of the season. This good old track was built atop of an unfortunate event where a railroad beam broke and the city of Vanport was flooded, and the subsequent racetrack was made up of the remaining roads that the track held. We'll look at that in a moment here. Let me just bring the track up for you. There we are. What is Portland International Raceway? A 1.915 mile road circuit. The drivers will be doing 104 laps, which will equal 199.16 miles, which is close enough to the 200 miles, so let's say it's a 200-mile race, especially with the parade lap / formation lap that the drivers will be doing tonight. On this track map that we can see, the section where the start finishes and the first chicane and up to what is on this layout turn 4 were known as Cottonwood Street, and where the start finish was back in the day. And in 69 and 70, what is today's turn 4 to turn I would say turn 8, up where you turn onto the back straight, was known as Force Avenue. Nowadays can't really be seen. And then the back straight was Victory Boulevard, back in the day in Vanport. And the last twisty section, the left, right and then hairpin right, was known as the Circus back then. But anyway, 87 it is, and this is the layout. In terms of points for the championship, the drivers will once again be scoring 20 points for a win, 16 points for second, 14 points for third, 12 points for fourth, 10 points for fifth, and 8 points for sixth. And then, just as what is usually the case, 7th to 12th will score between 6 and 1 point, points decreasing 1 per position. Additionally, 1 point will be scored for taking pole position tonight, as well will the one who leads the most laps in tonight's race. Like usual, everyone can score points as long as you are classified in 12th or above, and all rounds count towards the total championship. Jonatan is currently leading the championship on 28 points. Brian Yannick is second on 26, Grant Riddle third on 24. Jonatan did take pole position here, so he will now have 29 points in the lead of the championship. There's then, after Grant, a quick mental arithmetics, 7-point gap down to his father Ray in fourth, and equal fifth is Nicholas Hillebrand and Niklas Kirsten, both having scored 16 points so far after 2 rounds. And my apologies to you all if I cough or anything like that. I've been a little bit ill this week, as we are joined in the booth by Alberto. Good evening, Alberto.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
How are you doing this evening?
It's a bit hectic here, that's why I'm a bit late. So apologizes everyone, but it's always fine to be here. I'm really looking forward to this fantastic evening of racing.
That is great to hear. I'm not sure if you saw, but Jonatan has taken the pole here tonight.
Yeah, I'm
So
just catching up, and I should say that it's absolutely no wonder, isn't it? I mean, we all know John Tim. He's a very quick driver. He's really capable of these very sort of spirited sprints. And it's always great to see him there at the top because it's always, it's going to be exciting and it's going to be fun when he's at the top.
for sure, that is definitely true. And if I remember correctly, he is a former Formula 4 driver here in Sweden, so he has some experience with open wheel cars, which probably is helping him a little bit here.
Yep. Open wheel and elbow racing, I should say.
That too, indeed. So while the drivers are having a little spiff off of the rules for the race, coming up here at ISO, we have 16th is next weekend. The Adak Trophy Sandfort. The fifth round of our 1979 DRM Division 2 Championship. So far, quite enjoyable to watch. And Sandfort is probably going to be a very fun track to look at because it is, I would call it, even with that old layout, a bit of a track of two sides. One very twisty and technical, and part of it very open and flowing.
It's an absolutely fantastic venue. And this is obviously the classic version that we are running here. And I have really fond memories of driving this track with the BMW M1 Pro car, which is a car that likes to slide a lot, and doing a four-wheel slide on the open turns after Tarzan is is like one of the experiences that you must have at least once in your life, isn't it?
Definitely so. It is very fun as long as you're in control of the car. I've found most times I've tried to do that, I'm sort of out of control when it comes to rear-wheel drive, but somehow gathering it up and continuing anyway. And I'm not sure if that's just down to my driving or if it's a setup thing, but it is certainly an experience either way.
Yeah, it's always that tension of being there on the edge because you are sliding out so quick. I mean, it's a really high-speed turn. So when you're sliding there at Sandford, it's like you either got it right or you are going to crash big time.
Very much so.
Okay, so we are in the very short warm-up. Now the track is open after the driver's briefing. And it's going to be quite interesting here because this is actually a rather short track. It's not very big. Even if you've got that back side of it, the back stretch where is... I mean, you could think that all the overtaking is going to happen there, but it's not really that easy because the problem is that the turns that are there at the end of it, they are not suited for overtaking. And I don't think that the speed difference between the cars in the main straight is going to be that big as to allow clean overtaking there. There's going to be overtaking, but it's going to be mostly lapping. On the other hand, in the main straight going into the chicane, now that's a place where I expect to see many people going there late on the brakes and trying to overtake and go for position. And then you got that twisty section that is right afterwards, which is also very narrow and complicated. But all in all, it's a track that I think everybody enjoys driving. It's very variated, very different in all the several parts of it. And personally, it's a track that I like a lot. It's something that you need to be really in control because it feels so incredibly narrow in these cars that you have to be millimetrical in your precision and how you're driving. But it's going to be really fun to see how these top guys are going to be able to manage these cars all around it.
Definitely is. We can see now on board with Simon Wattman out of control ahead of us here. On board with Niklas Kirsten, taking it very gingerly, understandably so, into turn 12. But wide run out onto the start-finish straight. Let's follow along for another lap here. Into turn 1, 2, 3, the chicane. Clearly the best overtaking opportunity on the track. Killer curb on the outside of turn 3 there, or inside I should say. Turn 4, a bit wide. 5, then into turn 6. And turn 7, a very long, slightly over a crest left-hander. Then up the hill onto another crest at turn 8, a right-hander, where it's important to get a good run out, because we're going through turn 9 and onto the back straight. A turning straight, so to speak, much like Thruxton. Then tricky braking and tricky left-right combination at 11, turn 10 and 11, then into 12, a long turn, tightens in the middle and then opens up again onto the start-finish straight.
And it's very important to get the acceleration out of this last turn right, because that is going to give you the proper speed here at the end of the straight, of the main straight, and the ability to overtake. And I should also say, as probably the viewers can already notice, that the curbs here are really high. I mean, if you hit those things with your wheels even a little, it's going to upset your car big time. So, as I said before, precision driving is absolutely paramount here.
Indeed. I think the only curbing I've seen that people can hit just a tiny bit is down at what would be turn 11, the second to last turn in that circus complex, as it was known back in the day, where you can hit it a little bit and get away with it. But like you say, most of the curbs here are so steep that it just unsettles the car. Very much the old style curbs that was more there just to help keep the car on the track rather than to be mountaineered and used.
Yeah, and let you know that these are the track limits.
Indeed. And my broadcast assistant is here. Hey, Lucy. Hey. She wants a hand in this as well. So with 2 minutes left, I believe Jon took pole, Anders got, I believe, third, with Niklas Kirsten in second. But other than that, not sure about the grid, but what are your predictions here? Who do you think will excel on this? I suppose we should call it tricky circuit.
It is very tricky indeed. If you judge just by the pace, you would say that John Tim has the upper hand because he has the pole, and he also is right now scoring the quickest lap times. But I think, well, you never, of course, can discard Brian Janik or Grant Ridal, any other drivers like Kirsten, but I think it's going to be between Tim and Arnels Nilsson. So it's likely a Swedish duel here for me.
Say, no matter how you look at it, a dark horse in my view would be David Wattman, who is currently 7th in the warm-up, and I know he is very consistent in his driving, and I believe he should have a good run here tonight, possibly a podium.
It could very well be, because if there is an attrition race, and in this narrow track, as we have said, the errors are paid dearly. In that case, certainly, you could be looking at David Wattman or someone the like of it there in the midfield, but with a very good rhythm, being able to be at the top at the end. And I think that's probably what was in the back of my mind when I was picking Anders Nilsson, because he's a driver that is very good at benefiting from those situations. I mean, he's very quick, He's not the most aggressive. He's not the one who should be like always there at the top, going for the edge of it and that. But he's always the guy that is right there at the back, waiting for the opportunity that falls into his hands and never fails to make the most of it.
Indeed. Very much like most Swedish drivers, one could sort of say.
Not like Keke Rosberg though.
Maybe not. But race is getting ready to go underway here. We're just waiting for the cars to join the let me see, let me find the correct, there we are. I think I'll need to just move that one out of the way slightly. There we are. No. There we are, and do that. Just waiting on the cars to join the grid here. Let's see who we have. We have, as we mentioned, Jonatan on pole in the Texaco Racing machine, number 18. Second on the grid is Niklas Kirsten in the Budweiser, number 1 entry for True Sports. Anders Nilsson lines up third in the Dick Simon entry, with Brian Yannick in fourth in Skull Bandit colours this evening. Centrame is fifth, with Grant Vidal in sixth. A somewhat lackluster qualifying session for Grant, must be said. Seventh on the grid is Ruben Fernandez in the Domino's car, with David Saber lining up eighth. David Wattman lines up ninth, with Johan Boers rounding out the top 10. Richard Wilkes qualifies 11th, with Jules Bouchard in 12th. I wonder if he looks like he now has a wheel again, based on how those wheels are moving, which is good to see and good for him, I'd say. He's been struggling for a while with driving on a keyboard. Ray Riddle is 13th, with Alberto Alberto Jr. in 14th. Jason White qualifies 15th, with Dave Miller 16th. Salvatore Serignano lines up, what are we now, 19th, with Bruno Chacon in 17th for Serignano, 18th for Bruno Chacon, 19th, and I believe last on the grid is Simon Wattman. As we are now...
There is John Tim leaving a lot of room to the safety car, which is about to enter the pits. And this is interesting. Nicholas Kirsten is really eager to overtake, and I don't know if John Tim is really putting up a psycho job on him.
Could be.
Let's see.
But just waiting for the green flag to come out. Oh, a drive-through penalty for Jon. I wonder if that's because he left...
Because the green is right now, he jumped a star basically, overtaking there the safety car, I believe.
Hey, that's unfortunate for him. That'll be a difficult
He
race
should have waited for that.
Oh yeah. Let's see.
Probably that's why he was letting so much room for the safety car there.
Looks like everyone got through the first chicane relatively okay. Some cones having been moved, but otherwise okay. Anders Nilsson has romped to the lead for Dick Simon. Niklas second, Jon Tim third, Centrame fourth, Yannick fifth, fourth, sixth, Fernando seventh, Saber eighth, Bouchard ninth, and Wattman up to 10th. Sorry, down to 10th.
And Nilsson got the upper hand of all of this, and he's running now with a big gap to the following cars on the lead.
Indeed. Let's see all of them come out in the final turn here. See a couple of drivers having trouble getting the power down. We can see Grant has lost out a lot in the start here. He's down to 15th.
watching now John Tim, who is in third, and he has, I believe, according to the game, like 2 or 3 laps at most to do the drive-through penalty. So I'm wondering when he's going to come in. Maybe is it going to be this time? It's a shame, really, for him.
Very much so, but it's one of those things.
Let's see what he does. And he's in the pits. Right. So that's going to hurt. It's a shame because that's going to put him there in the back. Although, okay, let's 83 kilometers per hour, 85 there in the pits. Luckily for him, just luckily for him, these are not really the longest pits. So even if he's coming up, not last actually, because there are 2 cars behind him, but it could have been worse in other tracks.
Indeed.
Right, so Anders Nilsson in the lead, big gap to Nicholas Kirsten. I don't expect that to last too much because we all know how quick Kirsten can be. And cars now really settling up in the rhythm. Oh, and I see Grant Ridal is there in 13th position, trying to overtake now Jason White. Something must have happened there. I think he went out at the beginning in the...
Yeah, I'd imagine the cones that I saw in the background that had been moved is probably was probably moved by... Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Do they both survive? Oh, just about. Yannick and Bors tried to run side by side through the first chicane there, as I was speaking. The cones that was moved in the first chicane, I believe, was Grant's. That may have done that, probably after a little bit of contact with someone trying to run through that first chicane on the opening lap. Oh, and Jason White with a spin.
Yeah, and you can see right there also John Tim trying to make his way through. He's right now behind both Patrick Cars, Little Al and Dave Miller, who are on their own fighting for position. And John Tim so eager to get by. Now Little Al is letting him by. It's a shame. He must be really enraged by this situation.
It is quite likely. In one way, it's fortunate that it happened this early on, because he has the most time in the world to try and get back the time he lost. Or at least as much time as he can get back.
Yeah, and we got now a group of drivers that are going really quick, which is Anders Nilsson there at the front, Nicholas Kirsten and Giovanni Santorami, who are more or less able to follow him. And then we got a different group, which is Brian Janet, Juha Boas and Ruben Fernandez, who are falling behind, but on the same pace on their own. It's incredible, the rhythm that Anders Nilsson is putting up here.
Very much so. I think he was driving the number 6/25. I believe it was the sixth car for most of the for both of the opening rounds this year. And I don't think he quite yelled with that, but I think because that would have been the that would have been the 86C. I believe it has a slightly different chassis this time around in the T80, in the Lola T87. So I believe that might be more to his liking. That might be why he's in general further up the grid than he was in that Penske machine earlier.
The March 86 as well as the 87 are more agile cars. As far as I know, and that's what Wilkes told me, the Lolas, they are a bit more slicky. They go quicker on the fast tracks and on the big ovals and all that, but they pay a price in the form of understeer. So they are not as quick in the twisty roads. Anders seems to be coping quite well with this, but we should wait a bit and see what happens towards the end of the stint, because Probably what all this means is that the front tires are going to take a much more of a beating when compared with the March.
Well, it's interesting to note that Kirsten is also driving a T87, I believe.
No, a Lola. Both are in Lolas.
Yeah, a
Nilsson
T87.
and Kirsten.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah.
I'm just checking. Centrame is as well. Yannick is in the 33. There's also a low. No, that's a March. So the first 3 cars are all Lolas, and then we have the first March in the hands of Yannick. So I wonder if this track. I seem to remember that was the case last year as well. That because of how long these turns are and how consistent the speed is from most of them, the Lola, I seem to remember, worked quite well around this place last time we ran the championship as well. So it could be
Well,
a
it could be.
combination of both.
Like
Maybe.
I said, the car can be quick. The question is if that speed can be kept over the whole stint. Remember, we are only 8 laps into the race right now.
That is a very fair question. I would say the drive of the race at the moment, I'm fairly sure that that looks like Jules Bouchard is driving the Penske tonight. So that I would say is probably the drive of the race so far, being up in 7th at the moment in that Penske chassis, which is
indeed.
I would say probably the how should we put it nicely, the least enjoyable chassis I believe on the field, on the grid tonight.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Oh, dear me, Saber! No, he's out. Yikes. That is so unfortunate. He was behind Bouchard. Took just a bit. I think he got a bit more air on the front wing than he thought. Hit the inside curb at turn 1, and it lifted the car up from the track and out into the outside barrier. And that is unfortunately all she wrote. Saber out. That's unfortunate.
There is Wilkes now trying to overtake Jules Bouchard there. It won't work this time, but we'll see. We were talking about Bouchard, and yeah, it's the least enjoyable of the chassis. It's more erratic. It's not so much of a predictable and good car, but still, I mean, the shortcomings of this car are not so evident in tracks like this one. It's probably more on ovals and on high-speed corners, sorry, that you can notice that the Penske is not really a car that you are enjoying and when exploring the limit.
So that would be probably the first chicane on the circus section on this track where the Penske could show its real shortcomings, so to speak. See, another battle currently going on is between Vatman and Ray Riddle, as Kirsten does a fastest lap of 1:14. Not that much faster than the fastest lap that was set earlier. And just behind these two is Jan Tim trying to make up time. So he has climbed fairly quickly up to 12th. Oh, and Wilkes, I believe, just got past Bouchard. Yes, he did. You see, that happened at the first chicane. Let's see if...
Whoops! Bouchard spins, and Grant was able to make it by.
So that was Wilkes, probably a little bit of boost, and then a little bit later on, let's see, driving in dirty air is Bouchard and just overdoes it a little bit.
Yeah, and Bouchard spins again. So that's, I think, one of the shortcomings of the Penske becoming evident. And that's because with the once you are pushing the car a lot, you are punishing the rear tires, and they become greasy and they slide, and that's the reason why Bouchard right now has lost it.
Say the first spin then induced the second. Even. Let's see, Jonatan, a lot of overspeed and into. Ooh! Not quite able to make it past Ray there. That looked really close. I think Jon was expecting to get the position there, but Ray said, nah, ain't happening now. We'll have to try again later.
Quite interesting duel of two very, very quick and aggressive drivers. And they are both like following David Wadman, who you, as you rightfully said, could be the dark horse here. And he seems to be really like not faced by the battle that is going up behind him.
Yeah, no, I think he's more or less, I'll drive my own race, you guys pedal on, I don't mind. Let's see if Jon might this time know it. I think he ran a bit too wide, won't be able to make it. Let's see, behind Dave and Little Al still running together on the track.
And Grand Prix just made it past Richard Wales. Oh my god, and there's Juha Boss, Brian, Yannick and Ruben Fernandez. My goodness, gloves are absolutely off on that one.
So Boss has made it past Yannick while we were checking out the battles further back. And Kirsten has caught Nilsson with his faster pace. And here goes Yannick past Juha again. Maybe Yannick made a mistake then, Juha got past. But Yannick back up to fourth.
Really impressive overtake there.
Yeah, that's brave.
And look, I think this is the situation. I mean, 13 laps into the race, the Lolas are starting to suffer a bit probably from the fading.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Deary me, and he's, I think, yeah, he just survives.
It was really nice to
Yikes.
save that one.
Fernandez probably will need some new underwear after that. That was a very close call.
Yeah, for sure. So like I was saying, the Lolas are probably already starting to suffer a bit from the punishment on the front tires. And I can see that Kirsten is getting closer to Anders Nilsson now. Whereas Nilsson was really flying at the beginning of the stint. And now Kirsten is getting by. And look, in these Lolas, if you are setting them up to be more oversteery, you are going to pay a price at the beginning of the stint, obviously, because you're not going to be as quick. But towards the end of it, that's a different situation. Then the car is going to be more neutral, whereas those who have started with a more neutral setup are starting to suffer now understeer. And I think that's the situation for Nilsson here, because Kirsten is now really speeding up, and I believe it's a matter of tires.
Could very well be, and obviously Niklas has 2 races advantage in terms of experience in the Lola as well. And interesting enough, Jon still haven't been able to make his way past Ray Vidal. It looks like it's one of those classical catching one thing, passing another. And also, the slower the opponent, the easier it is to pass. And then, when you catch those that are of somewhat equal pace, usually you would talk about maybe half a second to 0.3 of a second to your time. Then passing becomes very difficult.
Also quite a fierce ongoing battle between Little Al and Dave Miller. They're at the back. Both Patrick cars, they are like all the time close together. And there have been many opportunities. Trying there, Little Al goes, trying to dive down on Dave, but Dave protects the inside. Very evenly matched, obviously, thanks to both being on the same ride.
Jon Tim has finally gotten past Ray. Oh, Ray got loose coming out of turn 7, and Jon Tim pounced immediately into turn 8, up the inside and past. So I think Jon will be happy.
It's really a shame that that drive-through was really a shame for Jon Tim, because I think he was really golden here. He really had the pace to be there up at the front and lead the race. And it's a shame, because I think that Anders and Kirsten deserve some more competition there up at the front from a different chassis.
Very much so, but that competition could still come. Yannick has gotten free, and while the difference is some 15 seconds roughly at the moment, still a long way to go to the end of the stint. Time could still be made up as such. Jon.
Yeah, and if you want to see a competition between the chassis, look at Juha Boss and Ruben Fernandez. Because there's right now a Lola trying to defend from the March 87. And there goes Ruben, there he goes. Nope, not this time. But he has made it pretty clear for Juha Boss that he's there, and that he's going to be overtaking at the minimal opportunity that he gets.
Quite so, and looks like Juha might have started to struggle a little bit with the rear tires on his car. The car is looking a little bit loose. Opportunity for him that time round. Front difference is about 1.5 seconds at the moment. Looks like that is very much the closest fight on the track at the moment between.
And Grand Ridal just got by a lapped car, which is Bruno Chacon, and is getting really quickly close to Ruben Fernandez. So Ruben Fernandez, not having been able to overtake Juha Boss so far, might find himself in trouble if Grant keeps getting close.
Indeed, and I noticed Ray have either made a mistake or Jules has picked up the pace again, because he is now right with Ray Riddle for 11th and 12th. So with a bit of a gap here, let's go back to that battle actually.
Really impressive. In 20 laps, Jon Tim is up to 9th after having been like nearly last after the drive-through.
Yeah, it's very, very impressive. I wonder how much more his tires can take of that pace, if that's as high as he can go in the stint now, or if he'll be able to get more out of the car and tires yet. Or if he'll now have to bide his time a little bit.
It seems that things are settling down there at the front. Oh, Ruben Fernandez goes for it, and he makes it through.
This time it looked like he tried around.
Grand Ridal is coming so very quickly. I think that Juha Boss might be losing another position quickly enough if he doesn't pay attention.
Because Grant is less than a second behind. Yeah, definitely looks like you may have set the car up a bit too loose instead. rear, loses the rear, crossed inside of that 10-11 section, but Grant ran wide as well, so no opportunity for Grant to pass yet. So 22 laps in the books, Anders still in the lead with Niklas Kirsten in second, Giovanni Santorame in third for Archer Racing, Brian Yannick's fourth, good points for the championship for him, with Ruben Fernandez in fifth, Juha Boos currently in sixth, and actually Yannick still haven't really pulled away from Juha and now then Fernandez, so he could still be in trouble with a very fastly closing in Ruben Fernandez here. Grant Riddall in seventh at the moment with Richard Wilkes in eighth. Jon Tim, as you mentioned earlier, has climbed up to ninth, and now only 5 seconds behind Wilkes. And David Wattmann rounds out the top 10. Ray Riddall in 11th, Jules Bouchard with a spin in what I think might remain 12th. It does, with now Equino ahead, Little Al ahead of Dave Miller.
And it was very close for the Jules there, because they were coming very quick from behind.
Salvatore Signano in the second of the Penskes. Also, by the looks of things, no, actually that is, yeah, no, that also looks like the Penske indeed. With Brun Chacon in 16th, Simon Wattmann in 17th, and Jason White, currently last car running, in 18th.
Let's see if Little Albo is able to catch up with Jules Bouchard. Because it's becoming quite evident that the Penske is already giving up the ghost. I mean, too much beating on the tires there. And it's becoming a handful, if it wasn't already from the beginning to start with.
Right, so when
it is equipped with a powerful Chevy engine though, so not a car that you can so easily overtake on the straights.
So maybe
Anders Nilsson just did the quickest lap.
Yeah, maybe that's part of why he's struggling with the rear tires as well, because that Chevy engine obviously a lot of torque and a lot of friction on the tires as you try to get the power down.
Yes.
Meanwhile, in the battle for fourth and fifth, Fernandez has caught up to Yannick and is putting him under pressure. Fernandez making tiny mistakes, hitting a curb there, running a little bit wide in another place. So just trying to get to grips again with running with lesser downforce on the front end.
And as we are watching that battle between Little Al and Jules Bouchard, right behind, as we said, was Dave Miller, and our leader, Anders Nilsson, is already catching up with Dave Miller. Very impressive drive there from Anders.
Indeed.
Coming to lap now that car. Whoops! Was even beneficial for Anders Nilsson, but it was really heavy moving.
Yeah, it looked like Dave just nudged the curbing as he put the power down, and that sort of unsettled the car.
Yeah, Kirsten is next, and I expected he should be having it easier. Dave really swerving there.
Yeah, those tires
And
look...
those rear tires are toast, yeah.
But that Chevy engine in that Patrick car is propelling him down the straight very well indeed. Tim must have lost time somewhere. He's now 9 seconds behind Richard Wilkes. Or his tires are starting to give up the ghost, but either way. Oh, someone just locked up... oh, Juha with a spin. Able to keep going though. Let's see what happened here. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yikes!
Jonatan is already on his toes, and it shouldn't take too long for him to overtake, because Juha is really struggling right now with the car.
Yeah, that looked like as he turned into turn 1, the car just continued despite him telling it, no, I want you to go that way, but he didn't want to do what he did, so... Oh dear, and rear tires a little bit heated, I think, from that combination of that spin and obviously trying to work that engine and that setup that I think he set up to be a bit too loose for him. But hopefully he'll be able to do something to that setup as they come up on Jason White, who tries to get out. Oh, tried to get out of the way. That looked close, but looks like all of them survived and they can continue as Jonatan is putting Juha under a lot of pressure. And Juha's car really looks like a handful.
Yeah, and John is taking some risks there, because if Juha misses a gear or has any kind of problem coming out of the turn, which seems quite likely, given the situation of the tires, he's going to eat his rear wing.
There he goes.
Yeah, there he goes. I mean, Juha probably took the cleverer route and basically just let him by.
I'd say a bit of both. Let him by maybe a little bit, but I think Jon may have also, with the better tires, by the looks of things, a bit of a better drive and maybe a bit of boost in combination with Juha deciding that, nah, I'll just try to settle down again and get into my rhythm. That being said, overall, that's another 2 seconds lost for Jonatan against Richard Wilkes.
Yep.
But this is the kind of race, I'd say, where it comes down to, okay, how strong is your mental? How well can you get back into rhythm, as Ruben Fernandez has lost out to Grant Riddle, possibly after having tried to pass Yannick and it didn't work. So while we wait for that... Pardon?
Although he just scored the quickest lap, Ruben Fernandez.
So he must have dropped further back and then went, okay, for a lap, time to catch back up. Really went for it. I was going to say,
some pit crews are already getting empty. I have seen for some drivers already the icon popping up. The pit crews are getting nervous.
Oh, no,
we are on lap 31.
Little Al is out.
Oh no.
Oh no, oh dearie me! Yikes! He already had damage. Whatever caused that damage in the first place? Oh dear. Let's see, it looks like Bruno Chacon and I'm not sure who that else was, lost it in front of him. Equino hit Chacon and lost his front wing. And then in trying to get out of the way, he got Dave Miller ran around outside of him, and then not sure which way for Chacon, which way to go round Little Al, and contact was made between them again. And unfortunately, that's Little Al out, and I I believe Chacon will have to go into the pits because he has no front wing now. And presumably maybe a little bit of right front damage as well. Aye, that's so unfortunate for both of them. Nielsen now coming up to lap 12th place Bouchard, who gets out of the way very nicely there. Looks like before the first pit stops, Anders will have lapped up to position 10. But yeah, looks like John have used up his tires. He's now just biding his time until he can get new tires on, because he is losing time to Wilkes up ahead. Fernandez still wanted to grab with Yannick, and Grant Dahl has passed Yannick. So Grant up to 4th. Centorame does the fastest lap in his Lola at 1:007. He's trying to catch Niklas, who is dropping back from Anders here. Even more so, I think Centorame can see that there's traffic coming up for Niklas, so that's part of the reason, I believe, why he was gunning it on that previous lap. As well as just getting ready, because I believe they will need to make the lap 35, I'm fairly sure, to be able to do the race on 2 stops. Which I believe would be roughly what they are allowed this race. We haven't actually looked at it, so let's bring up the tire and fuel rules very quickly. So like usual, each driver is allotted an unlimited amount of tires. Each car is limited to 3 full tanks, which is 122.36 gallons, or just a smidge over 463 liters. So lap 35 is the lap they need to reach. Like Centorame is indeed faster in the traffic. Oh, Centorame, is he already pitting? Centorame already into the pits, I believe. That is a little bit early, I'd say. Let's use this opportunity to see how much time he loses in the pits. That is an interesting aspect to keep a look at, that roughly how long a pit stop takes. So looks like it's, oh dear, Centorame off! Centorame off! Oh no, he's in the wall! He's out! Dearie me, cold tires and just trying to get out ahead of Sirignano. Oof. Unfortunately, it looks like we lost Alberto, but yeah, look like cold tires, and that is really unfortunate.
Yeah. Sorry, I had lost my microphone. And that's what I was so quiet, but I was trying to speak, but okay. So Anders Nilsson now coming out of the pits after his first pit stop. He's now in 5th position, but that shouldn't be for too long. because everyone else is going to have to pit very soon.
Indeed. And he took it much easier in the first chicane. And I think that is part of the driver's craft on this track. The fact that as you come out of the pits, you're carrying quite a bit of speed, and you really need to get the car slowed to make it through the first chicane, especially having driven on warm tires for a full stint.
Yeah, the cold tires are really, really nasty in these cars. You need to be very careful for the whole of the first lap.
So the rest of the top drivers into the pits now. Oh dearie me, close call there between Kirsten and that would have been Fernandez, and Kirsten coming out, and looks like he may just barely eke out in front of Anders. He does. Can he get the car slowed down though? Not quite. Avoids the wall, but here comes Anders, and past he goes.
Oh, and Kirsten is still struggling with the cold tires. You see.
Yikes, that was a close call for him. Let's see, out of the pits, Fernandez ahead of Yannick now. Can they both make it through the chicane? But Yannick does just barely, avoids the wall, the tire barrier. Fernandez makes it through, Yannick loses more time. Yikes, that looked very close. Battle coming out of the pits actually. Fernandez got the power down more. And then just look at this, how close he gets to the tires. Yikes. Oof. So let's see, who is yet to pit up in the front? Grant Vidal has just pitted. So Grant has made it a long way on his fuel tank.
Probably also some damage repair, because it's been quite long.
No, actually, it's roughly where he should be. He comes out ahead of Fernandez, which is where he was before the pit stops. Ooh, he's trying to get the power down now, but makes it out, and a clear 1-2 in the form of Nielsen and Kirsten now, and Vidal in third. Trying to get the tires up to temperature. Oh, the sound of someone, I think, hitting the wall. Oh, it's Sirignano who just went into the pits, so another one being stricken by the cold tire situation. Oh, just locked her up, unfortunately, and hard into the tire barrier and out of the race.
Very hard, but it's a really wrecked car. Well, I think that Jason White is also signaling pits, coming in very quickly.
Yeah, Jason Worth is a few laps down, so for him it's lap 30, going on to lap 36, I believe. Or finishing lap 36, I should say, as he crosses the finish line this time by, so but it's a very decent first stint in terms of laps on a tank of fuel. So David Buttman has actually dropped time in these pit stops. He's down to 12th, behind Dave Miller. Ray Vidal up to 10th then, and Jules Bouchard in 9th. Joa Bors is in 8th, with Jan Tim still in 7th. Still those 11 odd seconds, 12 odd seconds behind Richard Wilkes, who himself is trying to catch up to Brian Yannick, who is losing time to Fernandez still a little bit, especially with some lap traffic as well.
Hey, Jason White coming out of the pits on cold tires, and he also missed the chicane. I mean, it's incredible how nasty those cold tires are.
Yeah, especially I think the mental reset you have to do to to make it work as you come out of the pits, because that chicane is tighter than you'd expect, I think.
It is, yes.
Especially when you consider both the cold tires as well as having driven like cold to warm tires, obviously, but also the weight in the car, because you've been driving 10 odd laps with much less weight in the car, and then you put a full tank in the car and you on cold tires and you're trying to just make it work. As Fernandez had a close call out to the final turn, but survives it. Grant loose in turn 1, but holds on to it. Now it looks like the field is a bit more spread out, unfortunately for us. But with that, let's have a look at the trivia question for you guys for tonight's event.
Oh yes.
So, for you to ponder for the next 64 laps is who holds the official race lap record for the 3.093 Grand Prix circuit at Portland International Raceway, the layout that we are driving on tonight. That was in use specifically between 1984 and 1991. Is it A, Wayne Taylor, B, Michael Andretti, or C, Dorsey Schroeder? Schroeder, I suppose, is the more American pronunciation of his name. Who I believe Schroeder is, or has been for quite a while, a pit lane reporter for ABC, I believe it is.
Well, that's interesting, because I believe only Michael Andretti is IndyCar racer. I don't think that Taylor or Schroeder did drive IndyCars. So it must be another series. Not sure if there is a series that can be quicker around here. IMSA, maybe? I don't know. My bet would be Andretti, just because, you know, it's very quick. And IndyCars are probably going to be the quickest thing around here. But I'm sure that's debate. It's not the proper answer.
Well, you have a few laps to ponder those options still, I'd say. But it is indeed a tricky question, because like you, I was going, well, yeah, I'm fairly sure IndyCar is quicker, but honestly I haven't watched either series back then, so I couldn't tell you which is quicker.
Well, it's funny how in this track, even if it's quite short, it's a 1 minute lap about, the cars have so much space as they are right now.
Quite so.
It doesn't mean, of course, that there is no fighting. There is a fighting, but it's in the distance. It's a strategic one. And I think that everybody is right now thinking already about the next pit stop. And it's going to be, which should be around lap 66, 67, something like that. Because we've already seen how problematic the tires are when coming out. And I'm not sure, but I think that you should be able to do here maybe a stint on changing only the outside tires. Because if you look at the track, this is a venue where you are putting a lot of pressure on the outside ones, very much like an oval, only in the different direction, because most turns, especially the The hardest one are to the right here. So I think maybe it should be possible to just change the left ones and the right ones, and then gain a lot of time there in the pits. But I'm not sure if anybody has even tried that yet. Maybe it could be a desperate move towards the third stint. I'm not sure.
It's certainly a possibility. I know for a fact that it would work at Thruxton. Whether it would work here, I suppose, is down to how well could you get the power down, considering the different tyre wear on the rear. Because that could make the power down situation quite unpleasant towards the end of that following stint. And the question is, would you be able to keep it on the track and survive, or would you be in real trouble?
Another thing that seems to be getting an answer, at least for now, is that the Lolas are absolutely competitive here, because we got right now the top 3 on Lolas. So over the whole stint that they have already done, it seems that they were able to keep it. Probably partly thanks to good setup work, but in any case, the Lola is certainly able to make it. Not suffering that much in front of the March 87s, this situation.
No, indeed, and I think, like I said, it's down to the wide sweeping turns of this track. And as you say, a good setup.
Yeah, you got here the long main straight and also the back stretch. And then there is the twisty section. So maybe the Lolas are really able to keep the advantage that they gain on the quickest parts. Even if there is a twisty sections, they are not losing that much. In any case, I think that this is indicating that they are very well set up for Indy.
Indeed. That is going to be another very interesting race to watch. Of note is that Jonatan is now slowly catching Richard Wilkes. He has caught up about 3 seconds in what would be about 10 laps, so if he's able to keep that up, he should be able to at least get to Wilkes before the end of this race. Maybe Yannick as well, who is only another 2 seconds up the road. But that we'll have to wait and see, I think. With that being the case, let's ride on board with Jules Brugard in the Penske to listen to that Ilmo Chevrolet engine as it is on song around this track.
Meanwhile, Wilkes is getting closer to Brian Janik.
Ooh, let's jump up the field a little bit. From 9th up to 6th, we can see that you are indeed correct.
Same equipment for both drivers.
Indeed.
And this is the battle for fifth. Oh yeah, Wilkes.
That being said, being Wilkes there, just being a little bit overzealous in his pursuit.
3, 2, 1 until someone mentions the commentator scores in the chat.
Not unlikely. No one has yet, so I think you're good. Look at that.
Quite interesting now that Wilkes is getting close to Ruben Fernandez now, and it seems that Yannick overtook Fernandez. We seem to have missed that one. Maybe some kind of trouble, driving error, I don't know, because Fernandez was well ahead of Brian Yannick before that.
Oh, yeah,
And now he seems to be the one falling into the clutches of Wilkes.
Must have been, because he was some 3-4 seconds up the road from Yannick. Maybe a half spin or something. That then means we might have a 3-way fight, and later on maybe even a 4-way fight if they are still scrapping when and if John Tim catches up.
Yep. Actually, closer than that is Jules Bouchard to Juha Boss.
Oh,
they are both approaching Bruno Chacon, which is a lap car. There goes Juha Boss safely by. Now it's Bouchard's turn.
Nicely done.
Yeah, and Bouchard seems to be really getting quick, close behind Juha.
Yeah, Bouchard we saw last stint as well. The first 15 laps or so, he was very much keeping up with everyone else, and then the rear tires began to trail off. So it might be the same situation here, but either way, he is definitely getting closer to Juha.
So we had some laps with no action, and now the action is really coming up together because Brian Yannick and Ruben Fernandez are starting to have some kind of debate about fourth position.
Right, so traffic coming up as well. It's interesting to see Fernandez seems to have that line coming out of turn 8 up onto the curbing itself there. When he's
Here comes Bouchard, Nope. Not this time.
Oh, but on the exit though. Good run. Maybe, just maybe. Nope. Okay. Thought better of it.
And a lapping car entering now the equation, which is Grant Ridal. Let's see how Bouchard can make room for them.
Oh no! Spin ahead of Yannick and Fernandez. Fernandez span into the car and lost his front wing. That's Jason White, unfortunately, who span in front of them. Hi.
Just allowed Richard Wilkes to catch up with Brian Yannick, but let's see how it goes for Bouchard and Juha Boss. Grant Ridal now eager to pass there, and let's see how Bouchard and Boss can make room for that. Okay, Bouchard lets him by, and now it should be Boss time. and see if Bouchard can sneak up behind Grand Riddle, because that's probably what you want to do as a quickest driver.
Indeed. I'm not sure how that
Grant
went.
seems to be too quick for that.
Yeah. There's a difference between what you want to do and what the car, the material, the equipment you have allows you to be able to do.
Certainly. So that's Grand Prix Albay. And now Jules Bouchard will have to make it on its own if he wants to pass Johan. Fernandez there with damage coming into the pits, I think, because lap 54 is too early.
Yeah, he lost his front wing in contact with Jason White, who spun in front of them, so that's unfortunate, but one of those things that happens on a road course. Well, I suppose I should say in racing overall, because it can just as easily happen on oval.
So meanwhile, Wilkes is also still hunting Brian Janik, who has on his own resisted the attacks from many contenders already tonight.
Quite so, but we'll see what he makes of the Portuguese contender he has behind him now. That whole thing slightly reminds me of an old situation at Knockhill in 1997 in BTCC. Gabriele Tacquini were running behind David Leslie in the Nissan, and coming out of the hairpin, Tacquini had a better run with some lap traffic ahead, and just slightly nudged the rear end of Leslie's car, and Leslie's car just effectively slowed to a standstill almost, limped into the pits, and it apparently bent the exhaust pipe to such a degree that the exhausts weren't able to escape properly, and the car effectively suffocated itself. But the Swedish commentator of that time said, as Leslie stepped out of the car, "Oh, that he looks angry. I wonder if Scotland may declare war on Italy after this." I believe it was that way around. It may have been. Yeah, I believe it was. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was that way around. It could have been the other way around, but I'm fairly sure it's that way around. With that being said, 1.7 seconds now between the two.
It's weird because I can see many cars that have the pits icon. John Team had it for some laps, Nicholas Kirsten also. Now they have cancelled it, but it's interesting because the pit crews are getting like nervous. And we are still probably like 5 to 6 laps before any pit stop. But we will see.
And I believe that is part of the EMS thing, generally speaking, that it automatically throws up a pit call when you have a few laps left of fuel. I seem to remember that.
Yes, it seems to be some kind of wake-up call, but you never can stop wondering if someone is really that short on fuel.
Indeed.
I see, for example, now the icon also for Grand Vidal. But as we said, obviously, it should take them at least, I believe, 3 more laps, maybe, or even more.
A little bit of lap traffic holding Yannick up here. Weeks gaining a second in the infield section. twisty section from turn 4 to turn 8. So it looks like now the battle will really be on, and I think I heard someone in the pits, but must be someone a lap down or so.
One interesting thing I can see is that Wilkes is one of the drivers that is using most of the RPM range from the car. He's easily many times close to 12, which is not the case for other drivers. So looks like a different setup, and he needs more RPM. Maybe less boost and more RPM, I'm not sure. But whatever the case, he certainly is driving a car that is set up differently to the others.
Very much so. And that is one of the fun things with these kind of series, where you can see the same equipment effectively, but obviously different driving styles and different ways of getting speed out of the cars, but still they can be within a few hundredths of a seconds of each other.
Yep, it is indeed quite interesting.
Grant with all in early this time.
There was a spinner out of the pits there.
That was close. Yikes! Jon Tim, Grant Riddall coming out of the pits. Jon Tim on the start-finish straight. That was really close to disaster, as they both tried to get into the first chicane. Slightly bit of contact, but just about avoiding each other. Woo.
And Tim is up to 5th, which is quite remarkable.
Quite. Though with the pit stop of Grant Riddall, who is now a lap down behind Anders Nielsen. I suppose the thing now for Anders will he be able to lap the whole field, as Buchard has made it past Juha Boss. Let's see how that came to be. Oh, Juha ran wide in turn 3, hit the curbing in turn 2, and Buchard made use of that opportunity. Nicely done.
Yeah.
On another spinner at turn 1, Grant again off, avoiding traffic.
Oh, here comes Juha Boss again, and he overtakes Bouchard back.
That's a quick response indeed. And we can see as well, Fernandez after his repairs is in 12.
Oh, and
here
look at
comes Bouchard
Bouchard
again. Oh, bit of contact. Yikes. Switch back. Oh, both of them just about navigating that successfully. Both of them surviving for now. Yikes. Usually the hardest battles are for the lead and for the wooden spoon, but I'd argue that the battle for 7th and 8th here are the hardest ones on the track at the moment.
Having some fun there. And I'm looking at the leader, because I'm wondering how much it will take for him to go into the pits. I think it was lap 33rd when they did that before, so maybe 2 laps more, 66, something like that. We will see. They have to certainly stretch it a bit, because it's 104 laps, so they need a bit more out of the fuel tank.
Very much so, which is why I was somewhat surprised when Grant had pitted when he did, because that was very early.
Yeah, it's like ideally 35 laps out of each tank, so it means lap 70. If they are able to come in lap 70, they are good to go on fuel. So still 7 laps, 6-7 laps to go.
You think we will have a what year would that have been? Was it 85 or 86 when everyone ran out of fuel at Imola?
Not sure of that. but I don't know. I don't think so. Different thing is that they are going to speed down dramatically, but I don't think that's going to be the case either. So interestingly now, Anders Nilsson is coming to lap John Tim, which is 5th.
Indeed.
And I think that John probably had the rhythm to be there at the top of the race, but once you have been through all those midfield battles and making your way through and all that, the car is like buttered. Your tires have not had the normal life or the easier life that you get when you are on clean air leading a race. So that's likely the reason that John is now about to be lapped, because otherwise I think his pace was absolutely spot on for the lead of the race and the win.
I would have to agree.
Bit of a gap now between Juha and Bouchard. So I think maybe there was some kind of issue there that has hampered Bouchard, because they were really close before that.
And there goes Jon, letting Anders by. Very sporting. Indeed, up to 1.7 between Juha and Jules. Ray a further 41 seconds behind, who has 6 seconds to Dave Miller. There can still be a battle to come later on. David Wattman is 11th with a full lap on Fernandez, who is just behind him on the road though.
Mm-hmm.
That is another what if in this race. Ruben was right up there with Yannick and Wilkes, and Wilkes has gotten by Yannick. Whatever has happened here? Looks like
Some
Yannick.
kind of issue for Yannick,
Yeah,
for sure.
A while ago too. Oh, he span. Let's see, turn 7. We was a little bit wide on the entry to turn 7. The car turned on him. Maybe a bit too much wheel compared to the power delivery. And now back to third. Now back up to third again. Whatever happened to Wilkes then?
And this is really worth all this jogging for position.
I mean, with all of that. Oh, he tried to lap Jason White and span off the road as well. Yikes, and almost made contact with Anders as he rejoined. And now he has Jon Tim for close company. With just a couple of laps to go until they hopefully will make a pit stop. Because they've just completed lap 68.
So this is lap 70 and Anders Nilsson is signaling pits, which I think is more or less the plan. 35 laps per tank.
So Anders is indeed right on target. These guys need to make this and one more lap. Because with how this track is, you can't be sure that the guy who is a lap ahead of you won't go off the road and retire, so you have to do that extra lap.
Okay, here comes Nilsson. Hang on the marks.
Grant off the road in the background there.
This should be pretty uneventful from him. And yeah, there he goes. Whoppa, Brian Janik on the grass. Yeah. I think those tires are begging now for a change.
Oh, that was a bit of a grass cutting run.
Oh, and Wilkes and Tim there having an argument.
How the stewards will look at that, but anyway, Anders has made it through the final chicane.
Yeah, and Wilkes and Tim are close together and coming now to the pits. Let's see if they are going to pit. No, they are not. I don't know if they have pit already.
No, they haven't.
But yeah, but I was about to say that I don't think so. And they are not a lap down. Because
not
it's,
right now, at least.
I mean, Juha is the first one, the 8th is the first one that is a lap down. So these guys should be trying to hit the full target in any case, but I think that they got it pretty well covered.
Indeed, looks like Niklas is trying to run long and maybe use some leftover fuel to get to grips with Anders. And I think Niklas will want to pit right now because he's coming up to the trio battling for 4th here.
Yeah, well, Grant Ridal is right behind John Tim. I mean, things are getting really hot there for 4th position. Look at that. It's Wilkes, Tim, Grant Ridal. And due to the... Oh, yeah, Wilkes goes into the pits, yeah.
And there goes Kirsten as well.
There goes Grant Ridal. Man, the power of that Lola with the sneaky nature of it is allowing him to really power through.
Mm-hmm.
And I was about to say, Brian Janik is not that far in front because of that eventful escape to the grass. Him now also signaling pits. Let's see what happens, because Wilkes is coming out now. Let's see what happens after John Tim does his own pit stop.
This is going to be close between Kirsten and Nilsson. Kirsten just ahead of Nilsson. Can he make it through the first chicane? He can. Can he hold on ahead of Nilsson though? Oh, Nilsson running up the inside, hard into the turn. Oh, he's a little bit wide, but survives. Fernandez on the grass. Wilkes trying to get out of the way as well. Yikes.
Yeah, Wilkes on cold tires because he just came out of the pits. And now the interesting thing is, look at John Tim. He's now in the pits. He was fighting with Wilkes very close for position. And let's see if this situation with Wilkes, for Wilkes with Anders Nilsson, is meaning that he has suffered some delay and John Tim is going to come out in front of him. Yeah, Wilkes is still on the backstretch, right behind Kirsten, whereas John Tim is completing his pit stop. Uy, this is not looking good for Wilkes. Tim is coming out of the pits, accelerating now. Wilkes coming into the main straight, hampered by Kirsten. And yeah, John Tim is coming out in front, but this is not the last word because he's on very cold.
Oh, a lot of understeer.
Yeah,
trying to get around now. Simon there.
Now Kirsten is coming right. This is a bit of a chaos.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Simon Wattman in the
pits
background.
also.
Okay, avoided by the others. Good to go.
And I think that poor Wilkes has been hampered by the leaders lapping him.
Definitely looks so. But the race isn't over yet. Long way to go. As Yannick is now in the pits, he just completed his pit stop. So he'll be quite a few seconds ahead of Tim and Wilkes. As long as he survives the first chicane on these cold tires. Oh, understeer as well. Oh, a bit too quick. Onto the grass again, survives. Oh, and off the road again. Yeah, looked like he tried to get out of the way of Anders and ran very wide, very fast, very deep.
There's Ruben Fernandez unlapping himself from Wilkes. Very sporting from Wilkes to let him by, because he's trying to catch up with John Tim, and this is certainly not going to help him, but Ruben was clearly quicker.
And Ray Vidal has come out of the pits behind David Miller, and they are now in a fight. So Dave in the Patrick Racing car, Ray in the Dick Simon car.
So after this final pit stop, it's Anders Nilsson with a lead of 8 seconds over Niklas Kirsten, who is right now boxed behind Brian Janik, which is the 4th and about to be lapped. There he goes. Grant Ridal is in 3rd position, 21 seconds behind. So 4th is then Brian Janik, then John Tim, then Richard Wilkes, Jules Bouchard, Juha Boss, Ray Ridal, and Dave Miller is rounding up the top 10.
Indeed, and he just passed. Just got passed by Ray. David Wattman 11th.
And Wilkes is already close again to John Tim.
Oh no! Contact between
So
Dave and Ray! Whatever happened here?
Look at Wilkes, look at Tim, how he basically, he covered the spot. I think that John Tim was not really aware of what Wilkes was doing. It didn't look to me as if that was blocking. I think he was looking at the other mirror.
Yeah, that looked, into turn 1, that looked like a bit of a block, and then not quite in a position to make the move in turn 4. But John driving very hard in defense so far here, it looks like. And he wants to catch up to Yannick, who they are both closing in on at the moment.
I think that the way that John reacted when he saw Wilkes on the right, it means that he was actually surprised. I think he was slowly moving to cover there to gain the better angle, expecting Wilkes to be on the left, and that wasn't the case. Now trying to break the toe, but he didn't go that much to the right this time, because he wasn't sure of what Wilkes was going to do.
Indeed, and both of them really closing on Yannick, another 4/10ths.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Tim is trying to run away from Wilkes like hell, and Wilkes trying to overtake him. And you know, the price is big because they both know that Brian Janik is not that far in front. That's the 4th position. Which, given the untouchable rhythm that the top 3 of the race have, this is about the best that you can do in this one.
Ooh, and a spin front of there. I believe that may have been Juha Bols.
That's Ruben Fernandez, actually.
Ruben Fernandez, oh dear. So trying maybe a bit too hard to catch up to the cars in front.
Wilkes powering up from that turn, and the car almost got completely sideways.
So both of them again gaining more time on Yannick, so Yannick struggling early on in this stint. Another few tenths. Jonatan is a man on a mission. Feels like Wilkes is doing his best to just keep up here.
Yeah, for sure. It's a bit of a complicated situation for Wilkes because he wants to catch up with Jonatan and that, but he knows that if he's following Tim too close, then Tim has to defend and both are going slower. And the big prize is actually Brian Janik there in front. And I believe both of these Tim and Wilkes have a bit more rhythm than Janik. They are catching up. But if they are like losing time fighting each other, then they will never catch up with Brian. So I think the intelligent thing is what Wilkes has done. He has given Jonatan some space, and he now tries to follow him so that both can catch up with Brian. The only thing is that sometimes if you leave Jonatan too much room, then that might backfire on you if he is able to run away completely.
Indeed, but looks like he is able to stick in the draft well enough to keep up, but not get too close, like you say, and both of them trying to get the grips with Yannick, who's now found his rhythm again after some lap traffic. I think may have slowed him down a bit too much. So now it'll be difficult for both of them to catch up to Yannick, but still a lot of laps to do it in. 25 to be precise.
Still a steady 8.5 seconds gap between Nilsson and Kirsten. So unless something bad happens to Anders Nilsson, he seems to have this one in the back. So coming now to lap use Bouchard.
And if I know Anders right, he's more or less just, okay, I'm in my rhythm, nice, let's go. Because he usually
it's
drives.
a
Oh,
situation
look at this
for him.
Wilkes now, really close, really good run out to the final turn. Especially
No, but
compared
look,
to
he's not like going left and right. I mean, he's steady there on his mark. So I think he's signaling to Jonatan that he's not trying to overtake now. What he wants is that Jonatan catches up with Brian Janik.
It's a bit like what we can't really have here, but in the BTCC finale of 1992, when Murray Walker uttered the famous words, "I'm going for first," says Jan Cleland. Or like you would have seen in some races back in the day, the driver ahead of another driver would just point ahead at another driver going like, "We can catch him, help me out." Oh, Jonatan, wide.
Whoops. Yeah, it seems that putting a bit of pressure was basically enough for Wilkes, and I think that he has made a good mental note of that.
Yep, and here he has a good run.
Yeah. Okay, so probably he boosted up, knowing that he could go through, because John was like a bit knocked out for some turns after that spin with which probably overheated the tires. And let's see now if Wilkes is able to catch up with Brian Janik better.
Definitely could happen. In behind both of these, Ruben Fernandez is back up behind them. Clearly showing that he had a big amount of speed, but unfortunately one of those evenings for Ruben.
Yeah, it's you can see that many times in the races when someone has the speed but not the the ability to be consistent. Because after 1 or 2 or even 3 spins, as Ruben has suffered, unfortunately that means he's actually laps down compared with going slower but steadier.
And I will say it looks like Jonatan is struggling with understeer at the moment, so I wonder if he may need to make some onboard tweaks to the roll bars to get the car more where he wants it to be.
Yeah, so according to the hood, Fernandez is actually 2 laps down on Wilkes. So I don't really know if it even matters if he is able to unlap himself. What's the point? Because David Watman, who is in front of Ruben Fernandez, is actually a full lap in front. So it's not as if Ruben is going to gain much. But anyway, Wilkes left him by. Yeah. Probably also hopes that might help him bog down Brian Janik when he overtakes him.
Indeed.
Not very helpful there when Ruben overcooked it, trying to.
Oh no!
Oy.
No!
Oh no, that's really frustrating. Really frustrating. Wilkes now might be lamenting having let so easily Ruben go through, because it basically just spelled trouble.
I mean, the basics were good, but then lapped car and dirty air forced Ruben wide twice effectively, and then drifted off the curbing and into the path of Wilkes, and the tire parted ways. Yikes. What a rotten bit of luck.
And Ruben is also out of the race, so not that he didn't even benefit from all this situation.
Oh. Juha off the track? Is that an engine? Yeah, the engine is off. That's an engine failure for Juha.
Is it? It still seems to be in the hood for me, but
yeah, but he's off the road with no engine. That's him out.
Indeed, that's also a dead not finish.
Justice is changed up from what I think would be second to third. The onion let go for him. No smoke as such, so some form of electrical failure maybe. But that's Juha out, Buchard up to 6th. And Dave Miller up to 7th. And with all of those, Simon Wattman might be able to score some points if he's able to complete a few more laps here. John Tim already 5 seconds behind Yannick now. So yeah, one of those situations as Kirsten and Nilsson has lapped the whole rest of the field.
Right, so while the hostilities seems to be held off for a while, can we go to the trivia question?
Yes, I think we shall. I just wanted to see the chat really quickly there, but yeah, too bad for all of them really. So, the trivia question for you this evening, you've had almost 50 laps to ponder. who holds the official race lap record for the 3.093 kilometer Grand Prix circuit at Portland International Raceway, a layout that was used between 1984 and 1991, the layout that we are racing on tonight. Are you going to stick with your choice there with Michael Andretti, or would you be going with...
Yeah, because I really have no clue, so I guess the bait answer is as good as any other.
So yeah, the options, just to reiterate: A. Wayne Taylor, B. Michael Andretti, and C. Dorsey Schroeder. And you are going with B, which unfortunately is the incorrect answer. It is a bait answer. It is Wayne Taylor, father of Jordan and... Ooh, complete brain fade on the other brother. But he runs a team in the United Sports Car Championship still, and did in Can-Am in the late 90s and early 2000s. The race lap record is a 57.626 in the IMSA GTP class in 1991.
Yeah, I was suspecting it should be an IMSA car, because otherwise I don't think that there can be anything quicker than an Indy car here.
But those ground
Still,
effects...
it's I mean, that's something still, because those IMSA cars are, I think, heavier, and this is not a track that is like Le Mans. Yeah, there is long straights and that, but still, oof, it's quite amazing.
Indeed, very impressive, and congratulations to David Junt, who got the trivia question right. I noticed in the chat earlier. I haven't seen if anyone else... Jason typing such an aggravating track. I did take it then that unfortunately Jason has dropped out while we looked at the trivia question. Let's get back to the racetrack and get back into the action. Jason White is indeed out. See if we can possibly catch what ended his run here tonight.
Well, that was already many laps ago, I can tell you, because I already noticed it, and it was several laps ago, so I don't think that you're going to catch it in the replay.
Then I'll stop and see what to say. Rotten luck, Jason, but hopefully better luck in the next round. So, with all of these retirees and stuff, it looks like the field is more or less set, unless someone else runs into more trouble here.
Yep, so it seems. And I think we have seen several retirements due to the same reason here, which is a car that is spinning in front of someone else, and the car that is coming from behind is hitting it. And this is due to the very narrow nature of this track, unfortunately. There is not a lot of room to go. So when a car is spinning in front of you and you are close, you're basically going to hit him, no matter what. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is.
Indeed. I wonder if that may be a remainder from the old days of Vanport, and the street, the neighborhood streets that the track is based upon, with the width of the track being, apart from the start-finish straight, really not much wider than a normal streets width as such. I would say the drives of the race so far would be 4 to me, with 12 laps to go. for Anders here. Anders, obviously, he's been leading from start to finish, apart from a couple of laps when he has been in the pits. I would then also say Grant, who dropped back to, I believe it was as low as 15th or 16th at the start of the race, and has made his way back up to 3rd. So another one of those what-ifs in this race. He clearly had a lot of pace in the car. And then Jonatan as well, being almost last after his drive-through and being up in 5th. But I'd say to me the most impressive feat in this race is from Jules Bouchard, driving that Penske chassis and keeping it in 6th place here.
Yeah, that's very right. I mean, not a lot of situation or errors driving the Penske. And yet hanging on there till the end, although, well, still some laps to go. So let's not jinx it.
No, indeed. Indeed. You're right. My apologies. Oh, now only a second between 1.5 seconds between Yannick and Jonatan.
Well, that must have been some kind of error on the part of Brian Janik, because he was well ahead before, and I don't think that team has been able to speed up that much.
I noticed in the background on the start-finish straight there was Ray Riddall, who is driving with a slightly damaged car after contact with Dave Miller earlier. I'd assume the car is still damaged at least.
Yeah, look, I can see in the last lap that Brian Janik was 8 seconds slower than normal.
Oof.
So there was something indeed happening there. And I guess there was some kind of spin, or he missed the chicane or whatever. And that has basically allowed John Tim to catch up a bit more.
But then immediately pulling nearly a second in 1 lap, so clearly has pace to spare, does Yannick.
Still, it is a good reminder for him that John is right there, and he will not be missing any opportunity if it presents itself.
Indeed.
And that, again, adds to the pressure, so...
Does very much so, and Simon Wattman will at least score 2 points here tonight in a one-off drive for what I believe at least is a one-off drive in the number 6.
No, I think he has it full time.
Oh, he's picked it up full time. Would that have been... Oh yeah, he picked it up after Anders picked up a drive at Dick Simon. Let me change my driver list here, because that's the one thing I didn't change before the race. So a good effort there from Simon, and despite an engine failure, Johan Boos looks like he will be scoring 1 point for his efforts here tonight in the AJ Foyt Enterprises entry. Owen Grant grass cutting a little bit in turn 3, but survives. Maybe some fatigue starting to set in.
Yeah, I think we're at the typical point now where all the drivers there, especially the ones on the top, just with the race was already over in this lap because there is not really a chance of doing much more unless there is a big driving error from the guy in front. They are just consuming laps, and the only thing that they can hope for is that there is no engine failure or no problem or issues. But when you don't have someone else that is like close enough so that you are either trying to survive and keeping your position or trying to gain one, then the laps they go very slowly by, and what you really want is the race to end, especially if you're already on a point scoring position or in a situation where you are like more or less happy.
I suppose the only ones that is in that kind of position where there's still some fighting going on is technically first and second with Nielsen and Kirsten, and fourth and fifth for Yannick and Tim. But that being said, let's take one lap riding on board with Anders Nielsen, the leader of the race and the one who's putting on the class drive of the race here, leading from start to finish so far. That is what it looks like to drive in the lead with 4 laps left to complete. And a little bit of traffic coming up, but with a 13-second cushion, he can afford to take it a little bit easy, lapping what looks to be Simon and Jules Bouchard. Looks like the distance for the rest of the guys are more or less constant here. So 2 laps to go as they cross the start-finish line here. And I take it your microphone gave up the ghost for a moment again.
Yeah, sorry. I had to switch channels again because I just noticed that I was talking and nobody was hearing me, so...
Fair enough. So, with 1.5 laps to go here, many things have happened, but one thing has been constant. Anders Nilsson in the lead. As the white flag
and the
is
top
out.
3 are Lola cars, which is food for thought.
Indeed. As the white flag
Because
is
if
out,
they are
final
able
lap.
if they are able to keep it like that in the road courses, at least in the hands of these drivers, we know that they are already very good cars in the ovals. So it's looking like very, very much championship winning rides.
At least based on this one road course. There are others that are much tighter and more tricky to get the good characteristics of the Lola out of the cars, but time will tell.
Yeah, on that note, we're going to be visiting Meadowlands next, which is also a tight track, road venue, yeah. And then we will be going to Cleveland, and that's the last race before Indy. So we'll see how it pans out. But I think that by the time we get to Indy, it should be pretty much clear who is in the track for the championship fight or not.
Indeed, and crossing the finish line to win is Anders Nilsson for Dick Simon Racing. Bouchard almost crashing at the start-finish there as Kirsten crosses the line to finish second. And then quite a wait until we see Grant coming across there. A lap down in third. Probably quite happy with that, all things considered. Fourth is Brian Yannick. Fifth is Jon Tim. Sixth has already finished Jules Bouchard. Seventh and finished is Dave Miller. Eighth and coming towards the finish now is David Wattman for Alex Morales Motorsports. Good consistent drive from him. Ray Riddall in the wars a little bit, but coming away with a 9th place finish for Dick Simon Racing. I think he'll be happy with points at least. Brun Chacon finishes 10th for Lead Card Racing, and Simon Wattman, last car running, finishes 11th for 2 points. Retired but scoring 1 point with an engine failure, Juha Boos. Then we had retirees. On top of Juha Boos was Richard Wilkes, Ruben Fernandez, Jason White, Salvatore Serignano, Giovanni Santurame, Alberto Quino, David Saber, who retired very early on in the first chicane.
Okay, so that was the Portland race. That's another one down in the championship. And for all the drivers, no matter how they finished, it's on to the next one.
Indeed, and a stark contrast to this still relatively open and sweeping track in the four Meadowlands coming up next. Very much, how should we put it? Concrete canyon, I think is the correct term.
All right, so I have to run now, go for supper. Always a pleasure to be here in the broadcast booth with you, Jonatan. We'll meet you at the next one.
Cheers. Thank you for being here with me tonight.
Okay, bye.
Just waiting for a moment to see if any drivers are wanting to have a chat after the race, but it looks like none of them is in the green room. So with that, thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you all next week for the DRM round 5 event, the Adak Trophy Sandfort. That broadcast being on March the 16th, next Sunday. The race starts at 2000 CET. Until then, take care everyone, and be kind to one another, and have a great week.